Woohoo! We are live, Garrett. I am so excited to have you on again. How are you doing? How are the
I'm
squashies
good.
doing?
Oh my goodness. Let me just say that the Squashies in Sedona have been very active and very welcoming. So, they've been keeping me busy.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. So tell us a little
Yes,
bit about what you've been doing over there.
yes. So I just got back from Sedona. I was there for about, I want to say, close to a week. And as soon as I arrived, pretty much the engagement led into Sasquatch. A lot of the individuals who had participated in that offer there on that Sunday, they didn't have an idea as to the Sasquatch medicine. And so I briefly talked about it at the beginning of the session and the event, but then by the end, everyone wanted to know more because they were able to connect. And so when we had done the Sasquatch summoning song, right? Who let the squashies out? Everybody everybody in the room was very amazed because, just as we all experienced, they got to smell the different smells that the Sasquatch were emanating inside the space. And so, of course, that led to discussion more about how they are here assisting us, what their purpose, what their roles are, the technology, the different energies that they're assisting us with. So a lot of the participants were very engaged with that awareness. So it was pretty receptive, and it led to, of course, another event the next day with the same type of questionnaire. So it was pretty intense.
Wow, that's awesome. That is
Yes.
awesome. Did you have any sightings or did you get any presents? I know they always, you know.
I didn't have too much. Well, yes, because they there's one area in Sedona in Oak Creek. So up in the Oak Creek area, especially where the trees are, they're very active there, because they can utilize the trees to sort of hide themselves, and they utilize the trees also to kind of reveal themselves through the like how the leaves, like the leaves they were fluttering, and then those leaves would like form a face, and so when
Mm.
you're tree gazing, as I call it, if you start to zone in and tree gaze, they start to displace the leaves, or else they form the leaves into these faces. And then at one point, when I was singing to them, the tops of the trees, it was almost like the little squashies were on top, like, wee! They were going like this, like they were just hanging on the tree. They were swinging on the tree branches, like, woo! Because they were really in tune with the music, the songs that I was bringing to them.
Oh, wow, really?
Yeah. So this is where, again, there's more of that playful interaction. So when
Like
you're
a little kid, right? Like little kids, yeah.
exactly. And so that frequency, when that frequency emanates out, then it's all very in tune and sync. It starts to sync up with with nature, with the trees, with the flowers, with the waters, even the winds. All of that starts to like synchronize, and they start to respond because the Sasquatch, again, they are considered the Earth guardians. They've been here as one of the first seeded races that have, been basically witnessing the and observing and witnessing, the various nations who've come here, the various
Mhm.
colonies that have settled. They've seen. So in that awareness, they've pretty much really have mastered a lot of the energies of this planet of Gaia, and so they know how to work alongside her in that way, and work alongside the animals, work alongside the plants and the trees. And so this is one thing, coming into awareness as well. When the Sasquatch would check up on us, they would actually shapeshift and morph into the Thunderbirds. They're known as the turkey vultures. And so these turkey vultures would
Oh.
come like flying real slow, and you would know it's them because they're like they glide. So the turkey vultures, like they do this wobble in the air, and then when they're gliding like right above you, they just really like slow down like this, and you're like, oh hey, hi guys, or they're just kind of waving me, so you know that they're checking up on us.
I love it. It's so magical, this universe. My gosh.
I know, right? Especially in Sedona, especially
Oh God, yes.
yeah. So that was also too, when you're in that space, especially environment wise, when you have a lot of higher frequencies and higher vortex and portal accesses that are all over, it does make it in a way easier for the Sasquatch people to basically operate in and out in their quantum form. And so they utilize their quantum forms. One of the individuals that was there, he's a dear brother of ours. His name is Darrell. He has the capacity. So just like how for me, when you take a look at Uniac here, you see how
Oh, let me put, yeah,
I
go ahead.
captured him when I was visiting the caverns in Tucson. Darrell's gift. So like Uniac, I was able to catch his
There's
whole,
Uniac.
his whole face and his whole formation with inside this cavern. And so one of the gifts that Darrell has is that he has the capacity to encapsulate orbs. And so a lot of the times
Oh,
the Sasquatch and other interdimensional beings, the elementals, the star nations, they're in their orb form. And so in these orbs, you can actually see their face. So like you'll see how Uniac's formed his face now. So
yep.
imagine if he was in his orb form and that whole part got squashed into a round circle.
Into, right.
Yeah, and then you could see like his smile or could see his eyes that are forming inside this orb. And these orbs are very colorful. They're very colorful for the most part. They're round, but a lot of them also come about in different shapes. And so that's where in that presence, in his abilities, he's able to encapsulate and capture, and he has been given access, right? So he has been given access to encapsulate the various beings interdimensionally in this way. And so a lot of the times he can even capture it during the day, like during broad daylight. You can see a lot of the various colors that are coming out and around us. So like not only in our auric fields, but there was one picture that showed when I was basically speaking and singing Arcturian, you could see a ship, like there was a ship on this part of my arm. And I'm like, oh, that's the Arcturians, because that was that high intense frequency. So I always know it's when the Arcturians are around, it tends to get a little clicky and a little intense.
Uh-huh. I can imagine.
Yep. So it was very magical, even more, because again, that frequency of Sedona and the energy that's catered around the portals and accessing it, how it's basically they come in and out, they shift in and out, like this, like right now when my hands are shifting out of the dimension right now. So imagine now that they're coming in their orb form. And so a lot of the times too, when we start to receive gifts from them, that's how it's almost like their hand pops up and they drop the present and then they go back into their dimension.
Right, 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 right. I love it. I
Yep.
love it. So we were last time we were talking about the history, right? Galactic history according to them. And I'm going to let them guide you as to where we need to start from because I don't remember all the details, from the video. I do know we were, talking about like when the earth literally started being earth, but
Mm-hmm.
where from there, where do they want us to go today? What do
So,
you think?
so I'm going to re-emphasize again. I know we talked about it briefly, and just coming from there. So one of the main reasons, and on the second day that I was there, when I was in the midst of Q&A and individuals were participating in the sound journey, there was one individual that so happened to ask the question that he said, so Garrett, I want to know more about the whales. And he goes, what do you know about the whales? And what is it about the whales in Sedona? And so that
Mm.
was where I think I briefly touched on
Yeah,
it.
you did. You
And
did.
I do want to continue on that because I know that the Mer Kingdoms have been very active So when I refer to the Mer kingdoms, I'm talking about the Mer people. So the individuals, the mermen, the mermaids, and they're not just all in humanoid looking form.
Mm-hmm.
I like, again, I know I referenced it last time, but the Aquaman, the movie of Aquaman, and when
Mm-hmm.
they were depicting the individual mer races that were underwater, like the various kingdoms, and then of course he had to unite all of them. There were some of them that were like seahorses looking. There were some of them that were like plankton, plant looking beings that have like very flow, finny type of energies. So
So
these,
do you suggest watching that movie? I've never seen it. So just to see what they have in there, would you
yes,
suggest?
yes, exactly. And that's how, and again, when I give homework, it's more for the visual because, again, some of us are more visual learners
Yeah,
and
I am.
more
Yep.
mental part of our beingness sort of needs that visualization.
Yeah.
And so these various kingdoms that are depicted in the movie are good visual
Oh.
representations of how way back when, and there are still few number of them that are in existence now in our modern day times, with
Mm-hmm.
but so going back to what this individual had asked the question about the whales.
Yeah.
And so I had to share with him that one of the main reasons why Sedona is very intensely amplified is because locked within inside those sandstone walls and within the silicon structure of the smallest particles of the quartz crystals are the ancient whales' songs. And so these whales' songs, if you imagine the ancient whale
Wow.
ancestors of long, long ago, that were even before how they are depicted now, much more bigger, much more grander. But they, of course, the cosmic history is that they were derivative and came from the star nations from Sirius, right? So Sirius B tends to correlate a lot to the cetaceans as well as the dolphins. And so these ancient whales, you imagine, no. So as they're swimming, right? Again, Sedona, the majority of the planet was covered underwater.
Yes.
Those beach sands, those sands that were under the water, were now locking in those codes, the individual tonalities from the whale songs. And so, of course, as the oceans receded, now those tonalities and those songs have been locked in. And many more generations later, you fast forward to modern day times, when we go out to those areas, that's where, again, when you are in sync and synchronized with more of your tonality part of your being, you can unlock and gain access to these ancient wisdoms, the ancient songs, the ancient tonalities from that time. And so again, the amplification is a lot more intensified from before, just because again those different sounds, different tones, they're all locked inside those sandstones.
Yep.
And so again, when I shared this with the individual who was asking the question, and then what ended up happening was the next day we ended up doing ceremony. He invited me to his sacred land, and we found a dragon lane line. We found a lot of petroglyphs that were not known to the individual anthropologists and archaeologists, and so he showed me some of these, and of course I was able to decipher some of them. But the dragon ley line that was in that space was very prominent to me. It stood up very strongly because this particular ley line was aligning to all the other aspects of here on Earth, on Gaia. And so again, that part of the beingness, the essentially that they refer to, is song of expression, like a song, I guess you land that is elongated, that is truly, really in resonance. And so that part of our beingness is able to gain access, or I should say, remember access in that sense, because a lot of us have incarnated as the merchants,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
as different mer individuals and different formulations catered around the individual water tribes, if you want to call it such. And so that's why when we go back in this time now to Sedona or to other areas, not just specifically to Sedona, but to other areas all across, the lands, there's always that strong resonance. Like there's that real strong tonality, sound, deeper resonance that is all catered to those those ancient songs that are locked into the different areas. And so this is where now, as I'm honing in more, Uniac, there's another elder, Liuan is his name. Sasquatch, we're shifting into, this is where the songs of the giants, so those megalithic features that some of us have seen, there's a group of them that are in Montana area, and there's also a group of them that are in Ohio. So again, along kind of chronologically speaking, when you had the oceans and then the ocean started to recede, they
Mm-hmm.
started to recede, and then the land started to raise, you know, in Gaia's history. So now you have various Wuan stili. They call it the Wotan, the land of the giants, like the kingdoms of the giant beings, these bigger beings that came to settle here. Iwan, and a lot of their language also too was not very is not as formulated like right now. It's
Right.
a lot of more construct around like a real deeper primordial sound
Mm-hmm.
vocalization. I guess that's the best way I can describe it. It's a vocalization, but
Mm-hmm.
words are not really formulated into a real linguistic type of understanding. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make sense?
Yeah.
This is what the elder is now referring to, the songs of the giants. So the kingdoms of the giants, the people, these giant individuals that are here, and a lot of them actually are still very much in existence. They're very here. They're still
Oh, where are they?
there's mostly primarily they remain hidden in the mountains because they don't want to it's not time for them to come out just yet. And so really for the most part the elder is telling me right now that they prefer to be left alone,
Okay.
you know, because again they even though they consider us sort of like their descendants, they still prefer to be left out. Think of it in the sense of almost like the grumpy grandparent. It's like we have
Okay.
to fish, but you know what? We're not gonna. No, we don't want to interact. You know, it's like,
Yep.
but you know, but then Sasquatch House that. Thank you. They just said we're the intermediaries. So it's kind of like they want to intermediary. Whoa, the frequency is changing. Oh my gosh. All right, guys. The giants are coming out. And so
Oh.
frequency, so they're coming in, of course, their higher dimensional forms.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us who are awake in the sense of working along the quantum level, we do have the capacity to harness and also access the energies that they emanate. And so they are able to assist us with a stronger magnification of a healing frequency, of healing energy. And also for those of us who are doing grid work, land work all across the globe, they will also share with us, like they'll guide us to different sacred areas where there is, they call it like a meeting point. It's almost as though where all the ley lines come together and then it turns into that one dot before they spread out again.
Mm-hmm.
So there's those individual placements of energies that are all catered all across the globe. And again, a lot of these megalithic structures that are all over, they guide us to those areas. There's one in particular that is coming in real strong right now, and this is a giant elder.
Yeah.
It is the giant that is referring. He wants to go to Machu Picchu. He wants
Oh,
he wants to talk
awesome.
Machu Picchu. He wants to talk about also the megaliths that are down in Peru, And so there are chambers. If for those of us who are familiar with some of the shamanic practices and wisdoms from the area lands of Peru, they utilize whistles. They have whistles, right? They have those whistles that you blow into. They're like these little ceramic jugs that they use, and then
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
they use different frequencies, but when you play them all together, they make this real intensified frequency.
Yeah.
And so the combination of all these whistles, the bird whistles coming into formulation together, this is weird. You're sharing with me that a lot of the megalithic structures that are down in Peru
Mm-hmm.
is were sound healing chambers. And so
Oh.
they're talking about right from a deeper, some of these chambers are built upon an area on Earth, on the planet, where there's this like almost like an internal cave system, like the right here, like the caverns, right? So where there's a deep rumbling, like almost a real deeper primordial rumbling. So that vibration is going up like this, and then they build the megalithic structures around it to help
Mm.
encase, like you're encasing that particular chamber. And then you bring in the bird whistles or these other instruments, right? The rattles, bird whistles, drums inside that chamber. And now it's formulating into a deeper sound resonance therapy, is what Helper just said. So this is kind of that.
Wow.
Woo, getting chill. Woo! Yeah, it's intense.
Wow. Okay. That's
Woo!
beautiful.
And so some of us, when you are guided, I know there's another area in South Dakota. If they've seen the movie National Treasure, I think it's the first one with Nicolas Cage.
Mm-hmm.
The end scene when they go into the caverns. So that actual land feature exists. It's a national state park up in South Dakota, and those that area, has these like deep crevices, deep cracks in the rock, like in big granite sandstones.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're showing that that resonance therapy also applies to more like, but you would vibrate into the cracks, like you would shoot the energy of your voice or your tone
Mm-hmm.
into that crack, and then that crack will vibrate back out, like it almost like it vibrates back out into our being. And then so that's where the healing takes place, not only for the earth but also for us, because thank you, they just says the synchronization that takes place between the individual that is toning into the cracks and
Yeah.
that time the receiving in. So there's this resonance. Again, they're just talking about a resonance that's happening between both sides, both parties. um, when going back to Sedona, when I did the ceremony with this individual, he happened to take his didgeridoo.
Oh.
He, I tell you, he ignited that ley line even more,
Mm.
because I said, okay, it's time to amp it up. So I told him, I said, go ahead and play your instrument in this crack here. And so when he blew right into it, it's just like it just really, really raw, primordial sounds, and you could almost feel the vibration underneath of us, because those cracks go all over. So the vibration was coming up, and of course we're all like, "Woo, we're getting really high and we're vibing." So we're sitting there getting high with the rocks.
Oh my God, that sounds amazing.
Yes, and this is the awareness that they are bringing. I guess you would refer to, if there was a technology that is associated with the giant kingdoms and the various clans, it would be the technology of the rocks, like working with the stone nations and and working with the rock peoples and the various caverns and crevices. And again, imagine this cavern here. It's in Tucson, but imagine if we were to able to bring in some deeper instruments or bring in a crystal singing bowl, like for a private event and whatnot,
Mhm.
and the sounds that would just emanate and echo and just bring forth that intense resonance, that the caverns support. And there's natural crystals in there. And so this is where the elder here is more or less bringing this awareness to us at this time, in the sense of, hey, don't forget, yeah, you can get high off your crystals and the quartz and the beautiful pieces, but there's a lot of medicine also too that's catered to the stone nation, catered to the rock nation, and these crevices and these cracks, and even like the structures, or like natural caves or enclaves, alcoves as they're called, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you just start toning inside or just being in that space, that's where that harmonics is working in synchronization with our beingness, because
Mm-hmm.
again, our molecular structure is catered to water. So this is where this awareness from the giant beings, these giant kingdoms, more are bringing to us now. So awesome. I'll tell you, this frequency is intense. I don't know if you're feeling it on your side, but I'm just like, woo, holding it together.
Yeah, yeah. I feel it. I feel it. It's amazing. I mean,
And
I don't feel it as much as you do, but I do. I feel it.
do you feel also like a deeper, almost a deep resonance of grounding? Like it just almost like it's just doing this, like our field is just kind of going like this.
I don't feel that.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
Because that's the how it, I guess you would say, the best way I can describe, because the elder, I have Uniac on my left here, right, and I'm poking his nose, right, and then I have the giant who's on my right. Whew, and it's almost like just a small, how do I describe it size wise, about 30 feet, 35 feet.
Oh, wow. What?
And so now imagine him trying to squish his form into my 7 foot feeling ceiling space in my room. And so that's a lot of intensity going on. But the
Wow.
cool thing about what I'm experiencing with this, and me personally, I haven't worked with the giants very much,
Mhm, mhm.
but they have been coming in very strongly. Very, I would say, much more recent within the last month. There's a number of us who are working with them in this sense. And so there's this deep grounding resonance that comes with their frequency. And
Mm.
it's almost like Galactic Garrett is up here, ah, right? Just really high, 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 high. But then more
Are
deeper.
they more like a trombone, like a roar, like, like
Yes, exactly. Like
right?
that deeper resonance,
Yeah.
with the trombone, with like a
Mhm.
French horn, like
Yeah.
what's that? What's that other tuba? Like the
The
tuba.
tuba, that's what I meant to say. Yes,
Yeah, like the
yes.
big inside. So that's kind of the visual slash audio example that they're giving us around working with the stones, working with the rocks, working with like the natural caves, the natural caverns. If we're guided to do so, this helps more of that. They refer to the rumbling. So a
Mm.
lot of the times when there is sort of like minor earthquakes that we may feel, um, these rumblings are happening inside Earth, like the internal part of Terra, of this planet.
Mhm.
There's, that internal structure, underground cave system, caverns. So that rumble is also in a way from them. So
Mhm.
imagine, and it's the same idea when you think about in comparison to the whales. The whales are toning in the water, and you hear them, right? That
Yeah.
real to go through the frequency of water.
Yeah.
So on the giant land kingdoms, it's that rumbling that's echoing through the caverns and through the caves, and it's a real deep like that. Just and that's kind of how they refer to. We call it vibration. For them, it's like a rumble, like it's a bigger
Mm.
rumble for them. They're, oh
Mhm.
man, well, 35 feet tall, yeah,
Yeah.
it's gonna be a little bit more intensified.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So tell me more about Machu Picchu.
Oh, Shuati. So the peoples. Um, so the current awareness, like just with regards to the peoples that built those structures,
Yes. And
they're
are we talking about the I don't know if you know, but in Machu Picchu there's like a almost like there were people there before the Incas. So there's almost like two different types of rocks. So are we talking about the original, or are we
Yes,
talking about, okay.
yes. So they're talking about the originals.
Okay,
So these
perfect.
original peoples that were there,
Okay.
when you take a look at those stones, right? You see that those stones are huge and heavy, but yet
Yes.
they're somehow cut correctly
Perfectly.
and perfectly aligned to make this nice straight
Yes.
wall. Then
Yep.
on top of that, you introduce solstice, equinox, so every certain walls, right? So that's the whole archaeoastronomy
Yes.
phenomena as they refer to, right? So the ancient peoples, the originals that created that area, they're telling me one, two, three. There was a group of about three giants that were, and Machu. I haven't been there in this lifetime, but I have seen it just from the pictures, and you see the valleys, and you see the huge mountains that are all around it, right?
Yep.
They're saying that the giants lived in that area, like they
Mm.
were settled in that area, and they basically shared their wisdoms with these original inhabitants that built that kingdom, that built those formations, known as Machu Picchu to this day. And so initially, that's why a lot of the help, right? They received help from those giant beings to pick up the boulders and put them in the line, right? So they're walking, and they said there was a sort of like a treaty slash an alliance that happened, that was going on. Sorry, agreement. There was an
Mhm.
agreement.
Mhm.
There was an agreement between that local clan, and local clan as in local giant clan, with the original inhabitants, and they basically shared their technology and shared their wisdoms on how to utilize the rocks to work with the various rock forms, and and how to formulate and utilize the sound resonances of these individual group pieces. They're referring to granite, but I think it's more than just the granite, but because now they're making me see the different rocks. I guess different rocks sound differently when they're in harmonics. So that if there's more quartz in that particular stone, the harmonics is going to be a higher, like a more higher tone or
Mhm.
higher octaves. If there's more dense, less quartz, so meaning probably more of like the basalt type of
Right.
stones, more dense,
Yeah.
they say then the octaves and the lower part of the construct is going to be deeper, more of the rumbling. And so they're talking about right now, for those of us who've been to Machu Picchu, they said that's why in certain chambers there's a base, like the lower part of that chamber is built with the more denser stones, and then the top layer is more like granite,
Oh.
quartz, because they're working with the sound. They're kind of get tweaking it to make sure that you get the best quality from both sides.
Ah.
Woo!
Okay.
Wow, this is fascinating to me because it's like all brand new and it's coming from this helper on this.
Yeah, yeah, no, this is fascinating because, we did the Beyond Quantum Tarot on Machu Picchu, so I'm connecting the dots, so it's very cool.
Yes. Sua Nikiwa. So this is where also too the la Nikiang song. It's like song, like really just being in that more expressive. They're calling it like an expressive smile. Song like that. It's almost like
Oh,
your biggest
uh-huh.
smile. I'm like, okay, all
That's
right.
probably how big their smile is because 'cause they're giants, so
Yeah,
you're.
right. And but they're also referring specifically to the sound that is coming with the smile.
Mm.
Yeah, so the different now that he's talking about the om. Yow. So it goes from yow up and then back down. So the chamber. Um showing me on the south side of Machu Picchu. Yep, on the south west, there's a chamber there. right now because I'm honing into that area.
Is it the one that's the circular?
Yes,
It's yes.
because my
Okay.
hand's going like this. It's the
Yep.
circular one.
Yeah. I remember that picture.
So that pot, it was a challenge healing chamber. They utilize it as healing, but it was catered to healing around the resonances, like different tonalities. And what again? They're also talking about shaking the rattle. So this is where later. Now we're shifting to later. So we're talking about original, working with the giants, then silence for a bit. Then you have the descendants. So the descendants came back. And the descendants are those ones who were able to re-access those memories from that lifetime when they originally built it. See? So this is where when you think of reincarnation, so they reincarnated later, hundreds, if not thousands years later,
Mm-hmm.
those new incarnates re-access some past life memories from that area, so they were able again to build on top of it even more and have more of that. That's where more of the civilized part of the governance and the running and all that ritual type of ceremony was formulating in the more latter part of the history that's catered to that area. But they said
Ah.
originally it wasn't built like that. It was more on a more deeper primordial respect. There was respect. The latter part of it, they said there was a lot more kind of conflict that was happening, and
Mm-hmm.
also with the organization of how they were doing their ceremonies in a more hierarchy, like they're talking about hierarchy form.
Yeah.
And so that part of the history, of course, is catered to what the anthropologists and archaeologists now are finding evidence of, like I
Yeah.
guess supports the theories around that. But the construct of the original the stones and the formulating, especially with that first layer, they're talking about the first layer being this really primordial, but also very in sync. They were in sync, like the peoples who built it and then the giants were in sync with each other. There was no need for conflict. There was no battling back and forth. There was just total harmonization, is what this elder is referring to. It was like,
So
oh,
ask them if they actually use levitation or if because they were giants, they could just grab it and put it there.
it was a combination of both.
Okay.
So a lot of the times you did have them that helped build, but then the ones who didn't have, strength capacity, that's where they're saying they use their vocals.
Okay.
They use the vocals because
Mm-hmm.
again you're disrupting enough of the vibration to make the so-called weight a little bit lighter, so you're
Ah.
changing the atomic structure of that density that is
Mm-hmm.
making up the stone, right?
Yep.
We are seeing, and this is also too how, in my understanding and awareness, how the pyramids were also created,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
pyramids of Egypt, and pyramids. Well, I should say probably pretty much all across the globe, the various
Mm-hmm.
pyramids. But I was primarily referring to the pyramids in Egypt. They utilized different sound tools and sonic therapies that were able to basically lighten up the density, because they're telling me that when you look at the alchemical structure, atomic, thank you, atomic structure. I like how they correlate, they correct me, because I'm like, I don't know my science too well, but they're talking about atomic structure. Okay, fine. So you have the atomic structure that builds the stone, right? So
Yep.
however the bonding, when the sound comes in, it goes into the space to separate the bonding processes, and then it makes it lighter. So it makes it, they're able to lighten the load per se, and
Mm-hmm.
then re-put those stones into corrective ways through mathematical formulations, however it is that they were setting them up at the time. And so that part, to me, again, when I see it from the more energetic quantum awareness space, that part resonates very strongly, because again, if everything is energy, then these guys knew how to utilize their individual technologies to manipulate, but also to build and to work in a more harmonic resonance, to create these structures.
Mm-hmm.
The intention, of course, was to be utilized for healing, then yeah, they're going to support that, you know.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. A lot of
Absolutely.
it was a little bit of both, you know. So you got the voice at the same time. The giants came and helped build some of these structures, you know, when they were in alliance with the people at the time.
Mhm. Mhm. Wow,
Whew,
fascinating.
I know. That's why I was like, "Whoa, let's zone into that K6 and see how that worked."
Oh
Yeah.
my God, that's awesome. So then once they did that and they were there, what happened to them?
With the peoples of
The giants, yeah.
or the giants.
The giants.
So Shingumuwate, a lot of them left because they foresaw the next phase of Earth's history, where the silly humans and the silly settlements with the star nations and the silliness in the sense of, okay, my way is better than your way and all that conflict. So a lot of them end up leaving and they settled other star systems, but there is still a group of them that are here also too. I'm hearing the word monitoring right now. So I think they are, in a sense, monitoring just more or less how this conflict, how to, thank you, conflict resolution is what they just
Okay.
shared.
Mhm.
And I think they're doing it from more of the ethereal astral side of things,
Okay.
because when we go to sleep at night, that's where it's sort of like free reign. We're asleep, so we're in meetings left and right. We're working over here. We're working on this side. We're doing this over here. So we probably are in those particular councils or those meetings with these beings that are all across the earth, and it's not just the giants, not just Sasquatch, but we have Mer representatives as well as the
Mhm.
elementals. You have
Mhm.
the angels. So all of that is all being in place to create a better vibrancy. Thank you. And also, they just said to hold more of the higher, deeper resonance. So they're in alliance. They're in alignment, but also in alliance. So those of us who are working with dragons, the dragon tribes and the dragon kingdoms, the same thing. So the dragons, they have a very deep. A lot of the dragon languages are very deep. They're very primordial. They don't
Mhm.
sound light. So that's why it's it's very very primordial is just the best way I can
Yeah,
explain.
yeah, yeah. Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so the that's
Guttural. Is that the word? Guttural?
yeah,
Guttural?
yeah. There's a guttural
Guttural.
elements
Mhm.
to it, but it's really deep, and so that's
Mhm.
where those frequencies in monitor, like they're monitoring those frequencies so that those frequencies can be utilized for ma'ana festing.
Mhm.
So this is where you're taking that primordialness and then you're creating what you're creating with it. So that's
Mhm.
the more lighter side, right? So you're singing it into expression or you're singing it into being. And
Okay.
so this again in that awareness around the star
Mhm.
languages, you have more of the primordial, which is catered to like the Sasquatch, the giants, the dragons. So from the birth of light, from the existence of the void, comes into light, comes into formulation.
Mhm.
So you're channeling, almost like you're pulling that rawness, that raw, pure form, and then you sing it into existence or you sing it into expression. So this is
Okay.
where that awareness is coming into more of that construct for our understanding.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's I'll tell you, it's just like all over the map.
So what else do they want us to know?
So connecting not just in these stones, thank you, working with these different sacred sites. They're referring to the sacred sites. So as we mentioned, the more common ones, right? The ones that are
Mhm.
well known, the Egypt. You have Egypt, the pyramids, and then you have also there's certain tombs that they're referring to as well. There's certain inner chambers, not just connected to the pyramids, but I guess you would say different temples that are along the Nile. Iwa, Lishu, and a lot of these, they're giving me the awareness of the sarcophagus. So that sarcophagus, that structure that they built. So that was also a form of sound manipulation that was going inside there, because there was sound that's coming up. They keep talking about sound coming up. It's coming up like this. It's not just us toning it on the surface. They're saying no, it goes down and then it vibrates up. And so imagine lying in that sarcophagus and then they're playing who knows what on the outskirts, or maybe another chamber across, but that vibration is going in, going through the inner chambers of earth, and then it's vibrating up and you're laying there and you're just feeling like, whoa. And so
Yeah.
in this awareness, this is a lot of more or less a lot of the hidden knowledge
Hmm.
that is not openly shared. But this hidden knowledge is coming more into remembrance because the collective has done enough of the work to where, yes, a lot of us are regaining, or I should say, remembering those times of how these technologies are being utilized now. Initially, like the ancient, because a lot of us, we already know we've been here a long time. We've been here a very long time, and we've overseen a lot of these lifetimes in which we got to experience that go beyond. Some of us probably did embody giants. Some
Yes.
of us embodied then Sasquatch. We embodied
Yes.
Mer kingdoms. So
Hmm.
now these memories reside in our being. So when we go and play and we go to re-access them as we're guided to the various sites, now we really feel the resonance of remembrance on how that place, that particular sacred area has been, was like its original construct, its original energy usage, if you want to call it such.
Right.
And so this is where now, as we're moving into more and more of this remembrance, a lot of us are going to be guided again. Even if you've been to it before, now you're going to go back again, and it's going to be a whole nother spiel the next time. It's always like a never ending continued learning.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's good to know because I know I'm starting to travel and to do these things that you're mentioning. So I wonder if that's why they're talking about this.
I
So,
think so. I think it is, and it's also a sense of encouragement, because they do really want us to succeed. They want the humans to be in their peaceful harmonic resonance again, and they are, like our ancient of ancient great 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 elders, and so they want the humans to get back into that understanding of how things are, and how things have always been. And again, the silly humans, they just forgot. So it takes a number of us to be like, okay, silly human, remember? Okay, there you go.
right.
Don't make it more complicated than it really is.
Oh, we love to do that. My God.
Exactly. The silly humans, I know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
Wow.
analysis. So that's again the more of the reminder. Just like the Sasquatch encourages us to play and to really embrace the inner child. So it's the same thing that is coming from them, just in that awareness. And so as we continue our travels and continue to be in this embodiment, a lot of us are having these memories come back into awareness, because now we're sharing, just like what's happening right now in this moment. We're coming into awareness of like, oh, we're going beyond what the science explanation is about. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we're going back into the original of what it was before, before it was subtle, or before it become tainted, if you want to utilize that
Yes.
word. So we're going back. So that's why a lot of us now are re-accessing these memories to reveal the truth, to speak the truth, to be more and remember more of what it was like when it was initially first introduced. And so
Hmm.
hence we get called back to these areas, to these arenas, and those memories open back up. And so that's part of the what the Star Nations had shared early on, like 2 years ago. They were telling me that this is all part of the grand reveal. they keep referring to the grand reveal. So it's the grand reveal is always not just like, oh yes, they're coming down to land or they're coming all in one big mass, but this is also a revelation too, in the sense of what this original, these are, Machu Picchu originally was about, in as far as the sound element of it, and that's the part too that they're really focusing on, because again, Star Nation's referring to sound being one of the alternative therapies. What we called alternative is now moving into mainstream. We're
Yes.
moving into this mainstream, utilizing the sound medicines, the
Mm.
vibrational alchemy, because we're all water. We're not kind of,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. Yeah. So I wonder if that's why they created Machu Picchu in the spot that it's in, because of where the mountains are and the resonance and the sound, the way it sounds in that area, I wonder.
Mhm. They are sharing with me, as you bring that into attention, that at one point, like the giants could utilize echo, they just like the dolphins, right? They use
Yeah.
the sonar technology in the water, but
Yeah.
those mountains would also echo. So as they're emanating their songs, what they refer to as their songs, but were more like vocalizations,
Uh-huh.
and then they shoot it out, then it would ripple off the various mountaintops,
Mm.
right? And they were able to communicate and express themselves in that way, utilizing that natural, like this, the natural features of what that area is about.
Mm.
So there is again, it's almost like the more we come up with questions, and then it's like, oh yeah, that makes so much sense because there's resonance there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the comparison that they're making, of course, is the sonar with the dolphins, so in the water, but now going
Yes.
outside of the water in the mountains of Machu Picchu and the surrounding mountains. And I'm sure if we were to echo it out, it probably would bounce off all like, uh, a lot more intensified.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Big time.
Hmm.
Wow, that's just fascinating to know that the giants were there. Something, we always think of like the Incas. That's it, right? So it's just fascinating to see that it's such as it's even more special, that area, than what we thought it was.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And I think also too, with a lot of us, who embody and have the more ancient remembrance, so we get to experience and remember those times from what it is prior to the empire, prior to when it now known as Incan, or known as all these other latter tribes affiliation, right? And this, you can take this and apply that to other awarenesses. Another one that's coming in real strongly right now is Petra, in Jordan,
Yes, yes.
that cliff that they
Yep. I mean,
carved
it's a
off.
very specific place.
Yes, so they're talking about that right now too, because in the same sense of sound. So if you were to echo a vocalization inside that temple, that whole thing would light up. They're telling me, whoo, I'm getting chills on that one. Whoo! It's almost like if we were to reactivate that city, right, or that ruins that they call now, because it's all sleep. If we were to reactivate it, but we reactivate it through sound, through tonality, and of course aligning with our inner giant, that whole construct will come back to life energetically, because they're telling me that a lot of these places also too are sleep. Like the technologies had to be shut down because they were being abused. But now, as part of
Oh.
the grand reveal, we're turning them back on. So, the idea awarenesses around some of these crystalline cities are now rising, are coming to surface.
Wow.
So a lot of these ancient cities that have always been there, that are more or less lie in dormancy, they're
Right.
asleep. If we were to go back into that cliffside, to that mountainside of Petra, and start toning and start speaking, it probably would come back on, because it's almost like my hands are just showing how it light up and light up, light up, light up, and then pretty soon we would be inside that space and we all be vibing.
Wow.
Oh, right? It's like, whoa, I'm ready to play. Let's go.
Right? Let me open the portal.
Oh, let's go
You
turn it
know,
on.
like Doctor Strange, they do. You go, okay, I'm gonna go to Petra right now, and
Yeah, right.
let's
And we'll
just
just all
go.
jump in and like, all right,
Yeah,
let's do it. Woo! And then come back out.
right.
Yeah, so that's another awareness that they're bringing again just to some attention this moment, and whew, it's pretty out of this world if you really think about it.
It is. It absolutely is. Wow.
Hmm.
Absolutely
Hmm.
fascinating. Well, I am so excited, but I do want to take the last 5 minutes to talk about some of the other stuff that you do to showcase your amazing jewelry. Is there anything else they want to tell us before I move on to that?
Not at the moment. I think right now it's just like it's quiet. I'm like, okay,
Okay, tell them thank you, thank you, thank you so
yeah.
much. We are so grateful for this information. Um, and I know I'm going to utilize it immensely when I go on my trip. But I know I had mentioned to you guys that um, Garrett makes this amazing jewelry, and so I wanted to show you the stuff I bought. So in case you guys were interested, so here's one. Oop, there we go, and that's one of them. So that's the first one I fell in love with. And then this is the second one that I saw and had to get. This one, I don't know, Garrett, if you remember,
Oh my goodness, yes, I remember that one.
and it's all green.
Yes,
I bought this one. Oh, my cat just moved the camera. So this one's all green,
yes,
and he's interested in the
it's all about the heart,
and
heart and joy.
copper.
That one. Yep,
And copper.
yep.
Okay. And then the regal one that you made me that felt very Egyptian, and it was custom made for me with a labradorite.
Right.
See that?
Yep. Labradorite. Kitty likes it. Of course,
Yep.
Kitty likes it.
So this one was super regal when I saw it. It reminded me of Egypt. So each one is made with just incredible. And Garrett, are they able to see these on your website?
Not on the website, but they can see it on my Facebook Lives. So I
Okay.
probably will do one on Saturday. Um, so I on Saturday, and the pieces usually the with the each piece never very rarely do I repeat the same design
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the times a lot of the crystals that I work with they're all natural gemstones, various kinds. It's like you got citrine, again like the lapis piece. So the lapises usually call out to individuals, along the flavor of Egypt. Individuals who connect with the energy of Egypt, lapis
Mm-hmm.
resonates with them very strongly. And then also too, I work with copper. So what I do is I magnify, intensify the individual pieces, as it's called, with copper. So the frequencies are a lot more elevated and expanded.
Mm-hmm.
When I
Mm-hmm.
when I first started working with lapis, like as a crystal first, like just in the sense, for me it was very grounding. Like I never really felt an umph with it. Like it never felt like it was intense for me
Yeah.
until when I combined it, all of a sudden I'm like, oh, it would look. I was visually appealing, like it would look really good with copper. And so when I started putting the
And they do. They're different, right? That's not
right,
something you usually see in at the jewelry store or at yeah, I love it.
exactly, and that's when I discovered and I felt more honed in. So lapis, when you combine it with copper, the energy is magnified. So of course I wasn't grounded anymore after that. I was like, oh, whoa.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
And so a lot of the times, again, depending on how the gemstone comes together and how it also too, I'll look at it visually, the aesthetics and see how it appeals. Um, it magnifies. So copper will magnify the qualities of that particular crystal.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. So they're absolutely breathtaking. So just letting you guys, they are unique and no one else has what you have, which makes it very special. And not only that, it has Garrett's energy and it's just really, truly amazing jewelry. So if 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 you will watch what he's doing on Saturday, hopefully you'll find something.
Yeah, exactly. So just go on to Garrett Duncan on Facebook, friend request, and then I'll go on live. So on live with some of the pieces that I have. I did distribute a number of them in Sedona, so I do have a retail outlet in Sedona. So for those of you who are interested in seeing the pieces, check it out. It's at Cielo Connection in Sedona, the storefront there.
How do you spell it? Like cielo, like sky, or CLO?
Cielo.
Yeah, cielo. Okay. Like
Yep.
the word in
Yes.
Spanish. Okay.
Not sure what it means.
Oh, it's sky.
Sky. Sky Connection. Perfect. Yes. So if you guys did, definitely check out Kate. She's Phil's Star Sister. And so she has a number of my pieces there.
Okay, perfect. All right, guys. This was absolutely wonderful, Garrett. I am so grateful and thankful. And if there's anything else that they want to share, let me know and we'll do another video. They're
Yes,
always so interesting. I love them.
exactly. Yep. Awesome.
All right. So, everybody, thank you so much for being here. And Garrett, thank you so much. And everybody, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Bye, everybody. Bye, Sasquatch. And the Giants.
Right.
Bye.